Hi, everybody. Welcome to our virtual PD offered by the Office of Instructional Technology. Today's session is revisiting virtual learning. Are you ready for a virtual instruction day? My name is Samantha Wilkinson from the Office of Instructional Technology, and I am an elementary teacher specialist. Today, we're going to be talking about what a virtual instruction day is, the difference between asynchronous and synchronous expectations, how to navigate and use Google Meet to help engage learners, and exploring some of our resources in Brightspace and also in our digital takeout page. So, what is a VID? VID stands for Virtual Instruction Day. And when a virtual instruction day occurs, our superintendent will determine one of three options. Either it's a traditional snow day and we have off, it's a synchronous virtual day, or it's an asynchronous virtual day. If it's an asynchronous day, the teacher's responsibilities will include posting assignments or activities in Brightspace for math and literacy no later than 8:45 a.m. The teacher will also be available in their Google Meet from 10 to 11 a.m. in case students have questions or want to review material. And the teacher is also responsible to take attendance by midnight on the day that is called asynchronous. Students have to log into Brightspace sometime before 2 p.m., which will count them as present for the day. They will be responsible for working on their own assignments, and they can optionally join that Google Meet from 10 to 11 a.m. for help. On a synchronous day, the goal would be for teachers to offer a day of instruction. And so it's almost like a regular learning day that happens to be online. Both teachers and students will meet in Google Meet, and learning activities can be placed in Brightspace for students to complete. It's a shortened school day, starting at 9 a.m. for elementary and ending around 2 o'clock with 10 minutes for wrap up and reflection. Attendance will be taken using Google Meet and the attendance report. And anything that's done on our virtual instruction day that is synchronous cannot negatively impact the students' grades, and also makeup opportunities should be offered. So, how do we prep students for any type of virtual learning instruction? First of all, you want to remind students in grades 3 through 5 to bring their Chromebooks home every night. Certainly, they can't do their virtual work if they don't have a device. Grades 1 and 2 should already have their Chromebooks at home. Secondly, you want to use Brightspace to familiarize students with how to access information and assignments. If you haven't been using Brightspace, you want to get in the habit of going in there at least weekly and showing students how to navigate and where to get to their content. You also want to explicitly teach the students how to get to the Google Meet in case there is ever a virtual day, because in both scenarios, asynchronous and synchronous, the students will want to be able to access you in Google Meet. We'll go over that in today's presentation. You also want to teach them how to get to those asynchronous lessons on the days where you're not starting with them in Google Meet. So they should know pretty easily where to navigate to get to those lessons, and we'll tell you how to do that today. Finally, you really want to communicate with your families about using the Chromebook at home and your plans in case it is an asynchronous or synchronous learning day. There is a great resource on our Teacher Intro to Digital Tools page that you can use to show parents uh, how to use the Chromebook and what that means for using the device at home. And it also means having them have some experience in Brightspace and knowing that that's our learning management system and sort of a little bit about how to navigate. So we're going to start today by adding Google Meet to our nav bar in Brightspace because it's going to allow us to create a nicknamed Meet link. So the benefit of having a nicknamed Meet link is that you always have a Meet to join as the teacher and student. And in the background, Google is changing that URL each time. Essentially, this means that your students cannot reuse Meet links that you have used for past instruction, which means once you end the call for everyone as the host, that official URL is closed and students cannot re enter once you have ended the call for everyone. So we like to do it in this way for consistency purposes, so students always know to go to the nav bar. But also, we like this because it means that you won't have to change the URL every time that you meet, as long as you're ending the call for everyone. So we're going to navigate to our Brightspace course. Here we are in our Brightspace course. You will have to do these steps that your students are active in. So let's say you're departmentalized and on a synchronous learning day, your students are going to be coming to you for math. You would have to do this for each of your math courses so that the students in that class have a link to click on. So I'm in my sandbox for these purposes. And the nav bar, we're talking about this top icon bar here at the front of our page. These are essentially just links with little icon pictures. We're going to hover over the three dots in the right corner, and we're going to click on Edit this nav bar. This is also the spot where you can rearrange your icons. Simply by hovering over, when you get the four-headed arrow, you can move them around. This is also a spot where you can add any sort of icons, and you can also hover over top and click the close or the X to remove these. But today we're adding Google Meet. So we're going to go down here to the gray Add Links button. Now, Google Meet is not a pre-loaded icon in Brightspace. So we're going to need to create a custom link. And when that pop-up comes up on your screen, you want to click Create Custom Link. We're going to want to give this icon a name. This is going to be the name that shows up on the nav bar underneath the little icon. So I'm simply going to call mine Google Meet. We're then going to type in the URL, and this is a really important step to make sure you're typing it in correctly, because this specific URL is going to be a nicknamed Meet link, which again will give us the capability to open and close meets without having students reuse them. So the URL is https://meet.google.com/lookup and one more slash. This is the beginning of our URL. It has no spaces in it. And now, after this last slash, we're going to create our nickname link. So your nickname should be without any special characters and without spaces. If students are for some reason unable to get into Brightspace, they can still access your Google Meet by simply typing in this nickname. So write it down so you're sure you remember it. I'm going to go with my username, S. Wilkinson, along with the grade level I teach, and maybe even also this school year. The more numbers or letters that you add will make it more likely that no one else will have that same nickname. Once you're happy with your nickname, you're going to scroll down, leaving all of these as the default option. And we're going to go to the section that says icon. This is where we get to upload a picture or an image that is going to be the image that students see at the top of their nav bar. I always recommend going to Google and just doing a quick search for Google Meet icon. The first one is a really good option. And if you simply right click to save this image, it will allow you to save it to your desktop. You can see I've already saved one here. And then we're going to upload it to Brightspace. You can always go back and delete this off of your desktop when we're finished. Once you've saved that image, you're going to go back to your Brightspace tab, and you're going to click the upload option under icon. You're going to navigate back to your desktop. It should be the default. And you're going to scroll through those pictures until you see the one that you want to use. So the Google Meet icon, of course, looks like a camcorder with the Google colors. You're going to select it so it's blue and press open. And it's going to download as a link in our window. From here, we're going to click the blue Create button. And you'll see that it created that custom Meet link right here in our links library. You'll see I have two of them from a previous upload. So even though we've created the link, it's not yet on our nav bar. So we are going to go ahead and use this blue add button at the bottom of your screen so that we are actually taking that created link and adding it. And you see it's added it up here to my menu of navbar options. When I'm happy with where it is, I'm going to go ahead and click the blue save and close. This will take you back to your home page, and you'll see that now along the top we have our Google Meet navbar link. If we are to click on this link as a teacher, you're going to see it's automatically starting a meet for us. You'll also notice once the title loads that it is your nickname. So here's mine, S. Wilkinson, third grade, 2023. As the teacher, when I click join now and start the meet, all my students are also going to be able to enter. And then when the meet is over, I'm going to want to click on the hang up button and select the option end call for everyone. That will shut down the meet completely and will not allow students to re-enter. Now that we've talked about adding Google Meet to the nav bar, we're going to talk about some of Google Meet's really great engaging options. We're also going to talk about how to add a co-teacher in your Google Meet so that they have some of those host options. In Google Meet, you're going to see an icon on the bottom right-hand side of your screen that has two people. It's also going to have a number, which is the number of participants that are in your meet. These will be all of your students and any other teachers. If you were to click on that icon, you're going to get a list of all of the participants, and next to each name will be the three-dot menu. When you click on that three-dot menu, it's going to give you some options. You can remove that person, pin that person to your screen, and if they are a teacher with a AACPS teacher account, Google will recognize that and will allow you to have a third option, which is grant host controls. When you click on that for one of your participants, they're going to be considered a co-host. So what exactly is a co-host and what options do hosts have? Well, did you know in Google Meet you have a host control center here on that same toolbar at the bottom of your Meet? It looks like a lock. When you click on that, you're going to have a lot of different options with toggle bars. You have the option as a co-host or a main host to allow students to share or to not allow them to share their screens. You can also turn off the chat for everyone. There's also the ability to turn on and off quick access, which is going to allow people from outside the organization to join. And one that I really like is you're also able to turn on and off the Q&A, which is one of what we call Google's activities that is within Meet. Having these host controls can be really helpful when somebody is teaching and another teacher's in the room. They can sort of manage all the participants. On that same toolbar, we also have the little shapes icon, which is actually called Google Meet Activities. So some things have changed in Google since we did virtual learning a few years ago. We now have some built-in activities right here from our control host panel. When you open the Google Meet Activities icon, a few options will appear on the right of your screen. The first one is that you are allowed to create breakout rooms. What this will do, it will shuffle all of your participants into separate meets that you have the ability to start and stop as the host. You can also move participants around by simply clicking on their name and dragging them up or down in the groups. A Google poll is a great way to do a formative assessment. It's also a great way to build community. So it's essentially just asking a quick question, multiple choice, and you can allow those results to be seen by everyone or to be private. And you can also make them anonymous through the host controls. Q&A is going to give everybody an easy way to ask questions. They're going to see that it's open on their Google Meet activities uh, icon. And you can also make these questions anonymous. So it kind of helps to streamline if there's a lot of chat in the chat box to get the real questions in a separate area. You, of course, are able to record your meets. You're also able to capture your conversation in a Google Meet. if you turn on transcripts, and it will save to your Google Drive. And for now, it's just for the language English. The final option is one of my favorites, Whiteboard. It will automatically generate a link to a Jamboard for your class to join, which is a wonderful virtual whiteboard where kids can add images, text, post-it notes, and a great way to do some brainstorming. So now that we have our Google Meet all set up, let's talk about attendance on a virtual instruction day. For a synchronous day, you're simply going to see who attends your Google Meet and enter them as present in PowerSchool. You can also wait for the attendance to come to your email after the meet has ended. On an asynchronous day, you're going to want to go to Brightspace because this is where the students have been accessing their information and activities for the day. Since we give them until 2 p.m., you want to wait until 2 p.m. or later, and you're going to check under class list to see where the students last accessed material. I'm going to show you how to do that now. In your Brightspace course, you're going to choose the option Course Admin on your nav bar. It could be a link on its own, or it could be housed inside of Class Tools, which if you click on, it will open a menu. When you go into Course Admin, you're going to search for the class list. For some people, it's alphabetical, and for some, it's set up in subcategories. Class list for me is under Learner Management. Class list is going to show all of the students and teachers that are enrolled in your course, but it's also going to give you information on their role and when they last accessed the course. So here in my class, I simply have one test student. It's going to tell me that their role is student, and it's going to show me when they last accessed the course. In this case, she hasn't accessed at all. In my example here on the screen, you can see that the date and time are listed for each of the students in this course. And of course, you're going to make sure that they have signed in that day. I also want to show you how you can add a co-teacher in your Brightspace class. In the event that maybe you can't get there on time or you cannot access your course, it's nice to have somebody else, another teacher in the course labeled as teacher who's able to post assignments and work with students. This is also a good idea if you work in teams so that you can share activities and information with each other. So we're here under course admin, class list again. And instead of looking at the class list down here, we're going to go to the blue add participants button. It's going to give us three options, and we're choosing the first one, add existing user. From here, we're going to scroll down to the search bar, and we're going to search for the username of the teacher we want to add. Using their AACPS username is going to be the best at getting the least search results. So Google has done its thinking. You're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom and you're going to see a list of people that match what you typed in. So I have three options here. I'm going to find the one that is correct. Here's the teacher I want to add to my class. And I'm going to toggle the checkbox. On the right, I'm going to use the drop-down menu to select co-teacher or facilitator or aide. This is going to give this person all of the same rights I have as a teacher, except for it's not going to allow them to grade. If you want a person to have full rights in your classroom, just like you do, you could optionally add them as a teacher. But we recommend co-teacher, facilitator, or aide if you're adding additional teachers in your classroom. From here, you're going to press Enroll Selected Users, and you're going to see that they have then been populated into your class list. Now that we have figured out how to have our Google Meet up and running, we have some engaging opportunities in Google Meet to get students excited about learning for the day. We've added a co-teacher to Google Meet and to our Brightspace classroom. It's time to start putting some content in our Brightspace for students to work on. So we're going to head to our content folder in our nav bar. Content is where we recommend you put all of your assignments and agendas and activities for the day. So you can see I already have some folders set up here in my sandbox. But for today's purposes, we're going to talk about starting a new unit or folder that is specifically for virtual instruction days. So you see, I've already done that for myself here, but the way we do that is we go to the top and we click on the plus sign new unit. It's going to open this dialog box and it's going to allow us to put in some information. I recommend that you title it something intuitive for students, virtual learning day. Maybe there's a little icon of a snow, maybe put in an emoji of a snowflake, something that's going to grab their attention and let them know this is the folder you want to go to when we're talking about virtual learning. You could put some ideas here in the description. This just means that when you click on that unit folder, it's going to appear with some text or pictures that you put in this description box. Some people have been choosing to put the schedule here so students know 9 a.m., go to Google Meet if it's a synchronous day. You could also put in some directions in a video note. So I'll remind you that this insert stuff icon will open up some options, one of them being a video note. And this is a great way for you to greet your students and give them information right from your webcam. You'll press new recording and have up to 30 minutes to record. And then once you press the next button, it will insert that video into your description box. It's kind of a nice way to tell students what's going to happen for a day if it's asynchronous or synchronous. You don't have to worry about availability dates or due dates. And we're going to want to keep this folder hidden until the actual day of virtual learning. From here, you're going to click Save and Close. And you're going to see that that unit folder is added to your content organization. It defaults to the bottom. You are welcome to hover over and move it to a different spot. Most teachers like it at the bottom, but I would recommend that when we do, or if we do have a virtual learning day, you pull that folder up to the top so it's the first thing students see. Now remember, we're keeping it hidden, and if you forgot to do that, you can always toggle it on or off here at the top. We want it to be hidden because we don't want students exploring this folder and going into these assignments until they actually need them. Now we're going to want to put something inside of this folder. I already have an example here because I'm going to show you that our office has created a few templates that you could use to help you plan for the day. And I want to show you an example of what that template would look like. So in this case, I've created an HTML document with the date of the virtual instruction day. And in our template, we've added areas for I can statements and learning outcomes. These happen to mention multiplication and division and doing some research for our literacy block. There's also a section called Today's Learning Activities. So I have included a video note here for students to get a big overview of the day. And then using numbered steps, I've given them what I want them to do, including reviewing old material, which is just including a little link to our slides from yesterday. I told them that I wanted them to go into Wixie to look for a certain assignment. And I also reminded them that I'll be on our Google Meet from 10 to 11 on this asynchronous day. Finally, we have a learning resources section, which I have included some additional activities if the students want to continue their learning for the day. And it's easy things such as pick a book in Scholastic and tell me about it tomorrow, or for fun review, visit this link. It's a nice way to give students an agenda for the day and to sort of focus you as the teacher in your planning for these virtual days. So, how do we get to this? Well, you want to make sure that you are selected on your virtual folder from your units, and then you're going to go to Create New. This will make sure that that document is underneath of your virtual learning folder. Now, typically we'd go to an assignment, but in this case, we actually want the template. So we're going to be going to the HTML document option. And essentially, it's just basically like a Word doc or a blank Google Doc. So we're going to give it a title. I always recommend using the date. If you don't know the date because you're just getting things prepped and you want to have it there just in case, you can just call it Virtual Day 1 or something like that. You could put a due date in when you know what day we have as a virtual day, but I would mostly suggest keeping it blank for now. And then here's our same HTML editor box. And instead of typing in here, we're actually going to go over to the select template option. It's going to take a second, but then it's automatically going to load some of our templates that we've created in our office. And you see that the first two are our VID asynchronous and synchronous templates. Both are pretty similar. You can experiment with both, but you see that we have simply created an outline for you to use with some suggestions, such as consider using the video note to explain the day. And it's just sort of a nice template for kids to be able to guide through what they're supposed to do. Once you filled all this in, you can click Save and Close. You can also save and close it and decide to work on it as a in a closer time towards the virtual day. So remember, if you want to edit anything in Brightspace, just make sure it's selected with the blue box around it and go to your three dots to the edit option, and it will allow you to edit this page. So we have a template that we can use, but you're probably wondering, well, what exactly do I do on these synchronous and asynchronous days? We think you have three options. Your first instructional option is teacher's choice. You can continue on with curriculum as usual, especially if the virtual day is something that we have not anticipated. You may just want to use your regular lesson for the day and just digitize it. You are certainly welcome to do that. I want to remind you that we have some really awesome options that are already done for you to hopefully make that planning a little easier. You can get to this by going to class link and going to this orange instructional tech resources folder. It's the second option, ES Tech Connections. And when you click on that, it's going to bring you to this page where you pick your grade level. I'm going to choose third. We have every subject area on here, and these resources were created and curated by teachers in the summer who created extensions and digitized some versions of lessons that are in the curriculum already. For literacy, we have it set up by teaching point, and in math, it's set up by domain. But you see, as you explore whichever marking period you're in, you will see that we have the teaching point here. We also have digitized versions of the lesson or extensions of what you could do using some of our great apps like Wixie and Lumio and Jamboard. So if you want to continue on with curriculum, this is a great spot to look to have some resources. Again, in math, it's set up by domain, so you could look for the standard that you're working on and go by that. We also have from the instructional tech resources folder our digital takeout menu, which if you haven't explored this site, we could spend hours on. But some of the things I want to highlight is that maybe you want to take a virtual field trip that day with your students. We have a whole field trip collection for all different topics and subjects that you are able to view with students. We've also created virtual field trip follow-up activities so that your students have something to work on when they're finished. These are in all different apps, including Google apps, some Wixie, some Lumio, some Nearpod. Um, but you see there's lots of amazing options there. Under tools and templates, we have dozens of pre-made activities and organizers. Under graphic organizers, you see we have digital versions of some of your most popular note-taking sheets. So let's say in class that day you planned on doing a comparison of two poems, you can still do that lesson. And now you have a digital version that students can work on. We also have a lot of instructional activities that are already made for you to be able to use with kids. We have choice boards that you can fill in. We even have some social emotional activities if you feel like that's going to be something that you want to work on building class community on that virtual day, especially if it was unexpected. So, some really great options there. The last thing we want to remind you of is considering which application you're using with students and is it right for the job. So, for example, if you are doing something that involves students moving manipulatives for a math assignment, Google Slides might not be your best option because not only does it take a long time to create, but it's not as user friendly. Something like Wixie would probably be a better option so that students can add and move things a little more easily. Same thing if students are not used to using or creating in a certain application. You want to make sure that we're just not always using Google Slides. We have a lot of other amazing apps. This document comparing AACPS applications is a great resource so that you can see all of our applications that we offer in the county and what features that they do or do not have. The next thing that you could put in your Brightspace classroom are some of our asynchronous activities. So, our office has created some standards based, curated assignments, all in Wixie for teachers to be able to use on asynchronous days. You're welcome to also use these lessons as part of a synchronous lesson where you're working live with students and help them go through it. But the idea here was that students should be able to work on these pretty much independently. We banded them pre K and K, grades 1 and 2, and 3 through 5. We made sure to try to include activities that the students could pretty much work on independently. And one of the reasons we chose Wixie is because anytime the students click on the text, it can read it out loud to them, which is probably going to be very helpful if they're working on their own, especially our younger students. So, how do we use these resources? Well, underneath of each of these images is the Wixie link and also the teacher instructions and standards. I'm going to show you the teacher's instructions and standards because I think it'll give you a good overview of what each lesson contains. It gives you a little blurb of how we designed this lesson, and it also has step by step how to use the lesson in Brightspace and how to add it to your own personal Wixie account. It also has each slide and the activity that the students are doing, along with the content standard that it matches. The Wixie link, the first one under the image, is going to open you into your Wixie account. Now, if you're not logged in, which it looks like I'm not, it's going to prompt you to do that with the login button. And you're going to want to press sign in with LTI. You can also just open Wixie from your class link and then click on the link so that you are able to open it. So it's going to open up our lesson and it's going to give you a preview. So you as the teacher are going to want to, take a little peek through these, make sure it's appropriate for your students. Maybe you want to add something. Maybe you think, oh, they're not quite ready for that. And you'll notice that on each page, we also have the directions written and a play button that the students can listen to know what to do on each page. Some of our pages have videos, some of them have books, but either way, I think they're going to be a lot of fun too. So let's say you want to use this lesson. As the teacher, you're going to come up here to the Customize button. Now, the way it works with Wixie is that you want to make sure that you've changed at least one thing so that it sort of registers that this is your document. If you don't change anything, it's not going to show up in your library. So I always recommend just changing something in the directions or retyping a word. In this case, I'm going to retype that word click. And just with that simple edit, it's now registered that this is my customized document. I'm going to go ahead to the home button once I've made all the changes I want to make. And I'm going to be able to see my copy here in my list of assignments. So, one thing I could do on the day of an asynchronous day is I could find that copy and I can go to my three dots and I can assign it to my students that day to work on. And then in Brightspace, I can type the directions, students, please go into Wixie and work on the mitten because that will automatically send it to their Wixie account. Now, if you're familiar with Wixie and they go there all the time, this could be a really good option for you, assigning on that virtual day your Wixie. Don't forget though, if you assign it now and we don't have a virtual day for another couple of weeks, the students are still going to be able to access it. So you don't want to assign it to them in Wixie until they're ready to actually use it. So you might be thinking, well, then how do I get this to my students or how do I prep this in advance? That's where we can put it into Brightspace. And this is where we're going to have to teach our students how to go into Brightspace and find assignments. So I'm going to head to my Brightspace page. And here I am back in my virtual folder that I've created. And I'm going to go to Create New. This time I am going to create an assignment because this is what I want the students to work on for the asynchronous day or even the synchronous day. It's going to bring me to my assignment editor, and I'm going to put in all of the information that I need to put in. Let's say that it's January 28th. I want them to know that this is the date that of the assignment they're going to be working on. I'm not going to put a grade or a due date, but you could. And then your instructions go here. Once again, remember that you can add a video note for young students or students that you think are going to respond better to your voice giving directions. But I think I'm just going to keep it simple and say, please complete this Wixie assignment. Now I want to put my Wixie assignment in this Brightspace. Next to where we found our video link, excuse me, our video note, I see a URL link icon. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that insert quick link. It's opening a bunch of options. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the third party subtitle. And in third party, this is where we also find how to put in a Google assignment. But I'm going to scroll all the way down to the very bottom to see the Wixie option. You'll notice when I click on it, Brightspace is automatically linking up to my Wixie account. And the first time you do it, you might have to sign in. Here I am in my Wixie account, and I see all of the assignments that I have in Wixie. And here's that mitten assignment I want them to do. So instead of seeing the assign button, I see a use button. I'm going to click on that, and you're going to see Brightspace works its magic and includes it as a link for students. One thing to remember is since Wixie is an external tool, I want to change that in the assignment so that Brightspace knows the students aren't going to be uploading anything. They're going to complete this assignment in Wixie. So under submission and completion, I want to go to submission type, and I like to drop down to external tool submission. This again lets Brightspace know that the students are working on something outside of Brightspace. I'm going to make sure that this is hidden so students cannot get to it until I want them to. And I'm going to go to save and close. Now, when it's time for our virtual day, I'm going to unhide my folder and I'm going to unhide this assignment, and students are going to be able to see the assignment and get to that Wixie activity. The third option that you have for instruction is to use some of our already made emergency subplans, because these plans were created with the idea that if you were out of the building, that you could already have some preloaded subplans. You can also use these subplans though for your virtual day. So the way that we find these is again back on that digital takeout page. That's from Class Link under Instructional Tech Tools. You're going to scroll down to Elementary under Emergency Subplans. And there's directions on how to use these. And again, we have 3 days worth of plans for pre-K and K, grades 1 and 2, and grades 3, 4, and 5. When you click on these plans, it's going to give you a slideshow. If you like what you see, you're going to go to Use Template, and it's going to allow you to customize. Now, again, you're going to see that this is made for being in class, but since all of the assignments and activities are digitally linked, you are certainly able to use this with students as well and create assignments in Brightspace with these. Getting assignments to students is as easy as I just showed. If you're going to use Brightspace, which we recommend so that you can preload activities, you want to make sure that you're using that quick link and you're going to that third party subtitle. You're going to do that for Wixie, Discovery Ed, and Google. If you're using Lumio or Nearpod, you're going to want to use their URL. If you are assigning students an assignment in a specific app, make sure that you don't release it until the day that they need it. I also want to remind you that Nearpod and Lumio have options for you to give students a code to work on them live with you if you had a synchronous day, or it allows you to get a self-paced link if it's asynchronous. If you haven't heard about Lumio or Nearpod yet, these are awesome sites that you can upload your pre-existing slides or smart book notebook lessons to and add engaging activities, adding videos, adding little quizzes, adding open-ended questions, and it makes it a little more engaging in the digital environment resources. First of all, our Teacher Intro to Digital Tools page is an amazing resource with everything you'd ever want to know about all of our applications and how to do anything in Brightspace. The way that you get to this page is from class links, and it's going to be the big T, Teacher Intro to Digital Tools. Again, once you get to this site, across your toolbar, you're going to see that there is an entire page devoted to Brightspace. There's also an entire page devoted to virtual learning, either synchronous or asynchronous, which goes over all of the information I shared today and has written and video tutorials along with some additional resources. We also have an application support page for every single app that we support. So if you're interested in Nearpod or Lumio, this would be a great place to get more information. I want to remind you that every school has an e-coach and one or more Brightspace champions that are great in-house resources for you to use. And I also want to remind you that our offers office hours and help every single day, Monday through Friday from 12 to 2 p.m. You simply have to go to our Teacher Intro to Digital Tools page and find the link. If that time doesn't work for you, please email brightspace support at aacps.org and we can set up a time to meet with you personally. Good luck. I hope this was helpful and enjoy your next virtual learning day. lessons to and add engaging activities, adding videos, adding little quizzes, adding open ended questions, and it makes it a little more engaging in the digital environment. I want to show you some of your help resources. First of all, our Teacher Intro to Digital Tools page is an amazing resource with everything you'd ever want to know about all of our applications and how to do anything in Brightspace. The way that you get to this page is from class links, and it's going to be the big T, Teacher Intro to Digital Tools. Again, once you get to this site, across your toolbar, you're going to see that there is an entire page devoted to Brightspace. There's also an entire page devoted to virtual learning, either synchronous or asynchronous, which goes over all of the information I shared today and has written and video tutorials along with some additional resources. We also have an application support page for every single app that we support. So if you're interested in Nearpod or Lumio, this would be a great place to get more information. I want to remind you that every school has an e-coach and one or more Brightspace champions that are great in-house resources for you to use. And I also want to remind you that our offers office hours and help every single day, Monday through Friday from 12 to 2 p.m. You simply have to go to our Teacher Intro to Digital Tools page and find the link. If that time doesn't work for you, or you just want to talk to somebody live in a different time period, please email brightspacesupport@aacps.org, and we can set up a time to meet with you personally. Good luck. I hope this was helpful, and enjoy your next virtual learning day.